Fill all my vision, every desire, keep for your glory, my soul inspired, and with your perfection and your holy love, flooding my pathway with light from above. And fill all my vision, Savior divine, till with your glory my spirit shall shine. Fill all my vision, that all may see your holy image reflected in me, reflected in me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Goodson.
And I'm Johnny Taylor.
This is Coffee and Conversations, where I was just reading this little tag phrase on our Twitter page. And I always, sometimes I forget. This is a great tagline. And if you got taglines, who cares about taglines, right? But I really like this tagline that we'd sat down and come up with, and been quite a while ago.
Kind of like our mission statement.
Yes. It'd be
way back in...
Man, it's been a while. It's been a long while.
I think we came up with that day at the Cups Coffee Shop.
Yeah, in Jackson.
Yeah.
Man, you're talking about we talk about that quite a bit. The flashback to that day was that was an interesting day.
It's been a few days.
Yes,
ago.
It has. Reading this just from the Twitter page at Taleo Ridge on Twitter. It's called Coffee Podcast. It says, "Resting in the finished work of the cross while learning to love others for free." I really like that statement because I've heard, I don't know, this is kind of strange because I've heard some other people use it here lately. Pastor at our church used it from the pulpit the other day, and I about fell out of my seat. Not that exact phrase exactly.
Yeah.
But he talked about the finished work of the cross, and I'll be real honest with you, you don't hear that too much.
No.
And it doesn't matter what pulpit it's from, you don't hear the cross is usually a finished work, which is exactly what it is. In the sense of resting in a finished work that is complete.
Yeah. I was going to say, when we wrote this down, we set our goals rather high.
They were really high.
Because that's probably the two hardest things I can possibly think of doing.
Learning, loving others for free is not easy. That's not the, you don't hit the easy button on that one.
Well, you got to get the first one down before you can get the second one.
That's right. Kind of work together, don't they?
But the first one's just as hard as the second.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It was totally against what we want to do.
Yeah, it's resting in the work that Christ has done on our behalf.
Yeah.
And that's the labor to rest.
And then resting in the work that God is doing now, as opposed to us working for God.
Right.
Ugh. It gives us both the same reaction.
It is. It's a tough one.
Anytime I think of the phrase working for God, it just makes my skin crawl.
I think somebody asked us at some point, I may have been at the old coffee shop, maybe. I don't know. Ask us how that was working for us. I don't know. I don't remember who it was. Somebody threw out a statement like that. It may have been Jim or something like that. I don't know that. I can't remember who, but I just remember going, some days it's not. Some days it's not working really well at all because it is such a difficult thing. But I've always reminded about how easy that day was, I think, for us too, because it was something that had been on our hearts and minds for such a long time. Then all of a sudden it was just there for us, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it was the right time. It was the right place. God, foreordained the moment. You know, even Cordova being there that day was, the whole thing that's works around with that. And,
we eat Chinese food and drink coffee all day.
Yeah, man, I'm talking, man, they had a little spot. It was almost outside the back end of that. Yeah, it wasn't at the back end of it.
There was nobody around.
It was very quiet out there that day. Yeah. Wrote some stuff down.
Spent 8 hours sitting there that day.
Man, that was crazy. Yeah. Good times. Good time to reflect and remember back on that. Well, we're just this side of 11, just past 11 p.m. What's today's date? On the 12th here.
12th day of March already.
It's amazing how fast this year's gone. And I'm already blown away. Like we're on spring break at the moment at the high school, and just having, looking up and being March already is just kind of crazy to me.
Summer is rushing at us like a freight train right now.
Yeah, and I'm not looking forward to mowing grass, which I know I've already got weeds standing in the backyard, and just the thought of having to get out there and cut all that mess right now is killing me.
I hadn't figured it out. Whatever kind of grass or weeds are in my backyard never turned brown all winter.
Nothing.
I was thinking they'll die. I didn't mow them the last time and kind of left them standing there. And thinking they'll die. Well, they stayed green. So my grass has been 4 inches tall in my backyard all summer, winter long. Even with the ice, it didn't kill it.
Some major weeds.
I don't know what it is. It looks like grass of some description.
Oh, man. Winter rye. I don't know.
It's very strange, whatever it is.
Very strange. You're exactly right. I think we've had some. It's been a strange week so far.
I've been sick all week.
Yeah, it's been strange.
You can probably tell it in my voice
a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can't see you right now, but he's got looks like he's been beat over the left eye with a.
It's funny, my left sinus was hurting. It quit hurting, and my under my right eye swells up and turns black.
Yeah, his right eye there is just kind of poofy looking. Well, it's been an interesting week for me. Sometimes you go in through spring break and look for a restful week, but it's kind of been it's been restful, but it's been busy. Good busy. I've made some extra money doing some radio, and I'm going to do some more tomorrow and have something I've never done before. And I'm not so sure how I feel about it, but I'm going to give it a shot. I've never DJ'd a wedding, I'm not like looking to hold like these headphones up on my ear and be waving at the crowd, like, to get it going. But
kind of did one.
A DJ though?
A little bit.
I don't remember that.
Remember?
DJ in a wedding? I guess my brother.
For Wanda and Jennifer's.
Oh yeah, we did play some music, but they already had all that set up for us. Like, I'm having a microphone at this one. I'm feeling a little weird right now, I'm pretty comfortable sitting behind a microphone here doing this.
Yeah.
Pretty comfortable at a sports event.
Yeah.
And I'm getting comfortable with radio. The three things that most scare people, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about weddings and sitting at a wedding event. And so that's a little different for me. I've sang at weddings. I've performed weddings. I'm almost, man, jack of all trades in this whole thing, man, but master of none.
Oh.
Anyway, but the radio thing has been fun, and tomorrow I'll get to do girls softball.
Cool.
2:00 here, and so it's been fun to do that. And any of you out there want to listen, it's kmoo.com.
Actually listen to it streaming online.
On the internet, so yeah. It'll be fun. Couple of tragedies. Our high school baseball teams. Our baseball team is not a tragedy. That's not what I'm saying. But there's been a high school kid, locally that was, in a car accident Tuesday afternoon and was killed senior year. And it's tragedy. Second person in this senior class in the last 2 years that has died. They were sophomores. And the last high school student passed away in an accident, and this accident is, just another example of how quickly,
Things
life can change, and you go from a normal to a new normal instantly. It's so, it's such a drastic, and I mean new normal in such a way that, and I use my father as an example, but, after his death, it was an immediate new normal. It was like, just his physical presence not being there anymore was the different part of it. And, even a student in Rains, I believe was today or yesterday, there was an accident, and, a high school, young man, maybe even a middle schooler, the age of 13, was shot and killed. And so it's just amazing how all this stuff comes around, and it's some tough stuff. It's tough questions. And there's a lot of that really, kind of plays into what we're going to talk about tonight a little bit. But, it's, those things are, if you're in a situation where you go in and you're, even dealing with the families of the victims, and all that stuff, and then having to deal individually with people, and students around them. Cause I saw a student tonight at Walmart before I got here who said, "What do you think school will be like on Monday?"
Yeah.
And I said, "It'll be different." Because it will be, because there's be, a person that was in the hallways that was recognizable, that many people liked, that's not going to be there, and so it's going to be different. But, be
a lot of people thinking about the difference too.
Yeah. And that's the good. I think there's good in it. And I think that, I think it's a great opportunity for teachers and for people in the community to really, deal with those issues with the kids and sort of see where they're at. We talk about, if you ever talk about being in a learning to love others for free environment, that's a school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's, of course, everybody has their own version of that. You can learn to love others for free, whatever job you're working at.
Yeah.
But learning to love kids for free sometimes is really difficult. Question that we had thought about and come up with today is really good. The JT proposed tonight. We had a good long talk over biscuits, by the way, that were delicious earlier tonight, and but just having this
biscuits and coffee.
Yeah, biscuits and coffee. But and that's the great part about this podcast, is that there's always a conversation before the conversation, so to speak. And so, but hardly is there a pre-planned agenda that goes on top of that. But anyways, the question proposed on the whiteboard tonight, which I have not taken a picture of the whiteboard. I need to start doing that again and posting that. It says, if you knew that today was your last day, then what would you do differently?
Yeah, we actually posted that already.
Did we post the question? Good.
That question we posted.
Okay.
You reshared it, actually.
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
He's out of it.
There's things that I totally don't remember resharing sometimes.
You're more in a fog today than I am.
Maybe. That's unusual. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not. I've got 5 kids. That's a fog right there.
Yeah, that's a fog all its own.
It's a great fog, though.
Yep. Oh, so anyway.
What would you do differently?
What would you do differently? We did get one answer to that.
Yes.
Oh, we actually got 2 answers.
Oh, tonight on the response?
One of them was eat 2 bowls of ice cream and skip a workout. Probably not a bad idea. Oh. How many times have you heard this question kind of used to guilt people into better behavior?
Right.
That's the way it's usually used.
Like you can stand up in front of a group of students, or a group of people for that matter. It doesn't matter. You can stand up and point the finger. If you were to die tomorrow, what would you do differently today?
I wonder how many times it's going to be used this week because of the stuff going on.
Right. It could very easily happen.
You better get your life together.
Your act together, right?
Better get your act together. Might have been you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's a sad thing to me that it's used that way.
Right.
Because it never works. Maybe for a little while. But pretty much never long term.
It ends up being manipulative.
Yeah.
Very manipulative in the long run when you use it over and over and over and over again, because it's like it's almost a go-to, you know? When people have nothing else to say during times like this is the one time when they know they can roll with that and get away with it, and they feel like they can get away with it. And, you know, I remember there's some things that I did that I'm terribly ashamed of. Even to this, you know, even just thinking about it makes me ashamed of it. But just things I've said in front of kids over the years. Looking back over, you know, especially some days in college. Oh, man. If I had some recordings and just could play back some of that stuff, it'd be terrible.
Yeah.
You know, and for instance, using manipulative, if, you know, this is where you're going if you don't. If you don't do this, you know, type messages. And I just remember looking back and being young and ignorant during that phase too of my life, and I think my heart was overly good and right in the place, but it just did not come across as that.
Yeah.
Living and learning as we go through that time.
Pretty much all the horrible things, religious things I've done had good intentions.
Right. Right.
They were still horrible, though.
A lot of, you know, oh, there's some, I mean, there's this, a long list. I'm thinking of a long list of things.
Oh.
I remember one being in South Texas, an open field bonfire, huge bonfire. You couldn't get within like 10 or 15 feet of this bonfire.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fire hazard. It's how bad it was. It was so large. And I just remember us yelling at the group of kids over and over again, you know, this is what hell is going to feel like. This is, you know, and, just trying to manipulate them to be saved so that we could go back to our college campus and tell them what God did, you know, and use God in the midst of that type of, in that type of way, which is to say that he, you know, oh man, I don't ever remember a student responding to that stuff either, and us being frustrated over it.
Did any of them ever ask you how you knew that's what it felt like?
No. That's a good question, though.
Have you been before?
Have you been before? Have you walked down that road? You know, and I don't know. And there's other examples of that, but I don't know that anybody had ever, like, I'd been manipulated in such ways growing up myself.
Yeah.
And I always remember having this icky feeling on the inside.
Yeah. But
when I used it as a tool for trying to manipulate somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever feeling that icky feeling until, you know, the last, 10 years of my life here.
Usually
realizing it later on.
Righteous feeling goes along.
Right.
That's usually what you get.
Right.
Flesh loves that. It just feeds on that.
Right. Right. I think that, I don't know, to answer that question, it's interesting.
Just kind of throw this out here. We'll cut straight to the point.
All right.
Because if you really think about it, if you knew that and you would do something differently than you did today, then that's saying you weren't following God today. Because I'm supposed to be doing what God has me doing all the time.
Right. Right.
And his leading doesn't change based on what's happening tomorrow, because he knows tomorrow. It's his plan.
Right.
So his leading for my life does not change based on that.
Right.
So whatever I was doing today, if my heart is to follow God, then that's what I should have been doing today, no matter what tomorrow brings. That's a hard thing to grasp a lot of the time.
Right. It really is. It's because you really can't step back into to yesterday and try to live for God, because yesterday already happened.
What was it we said earlier? You can't live for God tomorrow. You can't live for God yesterday. You can only live for Him right this minute.
Right now. Right in this moment.
You only have 1 minute. You only have 1 minute or 1 second to live for God.
Mm-hmm.
That's right now.
That's right now. Right. That's such a good reminder too for any of you listening. I mean, no matter what field you work in, no matter what part of life you're in, no matter what situation you're dealing with, whether it be life or death, anything in your life that you're focusing on in that moment, in that second, in that minute, in that, in the hour, whatever it is at that moment, is it for God?
And here's the thing. This is where you got to fall back on the simplicity of God, the simplicity of living.
Right.
Because if my concentration is on doing it, then I've already lost the second.
Exactly right.
I lose that time because it's not my life.
Yeah.
It's His life.
Right.
It's not something I have to focus on. Oh, am I living for God this second? No.
That'd be a long day for you, I think, if you're constantly
Yeah, because it's going back to that first thing in our tagline.
Yeah.
Resting in the finished work of the cross.
Yeah.
And it comes back to believing, faith. Do you really believe God will live through you? What was our verse? 14:10?
John 14:10 is a good one. Both of them are really good tonight. And the book of John, anyways, man, just piled with good stuff.
Let's just throw in the whole Bible while we're at it.
Yeah, it's
all good.
It's all good, yeah. Read it, please.
It says, John 14:10, do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father in me? The words that I speak to you, I do not speak of my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does the works.
That's Jesus speaking, by the way.
Yeah. This is
him talking.
This is not even Paul or Peter. No. This is Jesus.
This is not
physical man Jesus speaking.
Speaking this.
Who is God. Saying. It's the Father that does the works.
Right.
Which is why the statement, got to work for God, makes my skin crawl.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I'm going to use this example. There was a sign that was up in one of the offices in South Florida where we worked. And especially, it was in the office that Kathy worked at, but there was a sign in there that said it had a man in construction and put on a work hat, and he had a shovel, and is in a hole, and he's throwing a pile of dirt over his shoulder. It said "Working for God, baby" on the shoulder. And, I think it was maybe in Cordova. He walked around when he was down there. He walked around the whole. I think it was Cordova. He walked around the whole office and tore down every sign. It said that. Oh, anyways.
Actually, the sign would be accurate because if you're working for God, you are in a hole.
Oh, gosh! You gotta look at it. Yeah, if you're looking at it that way, you're exactly right. The new perspective.
Yeah.
But that, in that instant, he was thinking, oh, it's terrible, which is accurate because.
And I'm sure it was put up in a whole different.
It was put up for, hey, we're doing this job for God.
Yeah.
I think is what it was put up for, because of knowing the man who put it up, just a great guy, man. I'm talking gold, good as gold, heart of gold. But just the whole idea behind it is, like you said, make your skin crawl.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that you just being consciously aware of that, trying to do that moment by moment, man, that tires me out just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Just literally, it wears me out.
That's why it comes back to relationship.
Right. Right.
Being in relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about work. It's not about keeping a set of rules. It's about being in a relationship. That's the only way that moment by moment happens.
Right. I remember, what was the one phrase? There's a tagline by Grubb, and I always liked this tagline.
Not God first, but God only.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And him waking up on a daily basis and saying, I believe it was, Lord, what the prayer was like, Lord, what would you have me do today, and give me the courage to follow it, I think is what it was. Something of that nature.
Remember.
What would you have me do today? Give me the courage to follow it. And now that is expressing a desire to live moment by moment,
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like is whatever God is, has you doing at that moment. The verse coming back to it, he says, I don't speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does the works. That just goes back and just rephrases and takes the mindset of you out of it.
Yeah.
Because Jesus, whom we look at as the perfect human, who lived, who was the perfect example of how we should have, lived this life on earth, did it dependently upon the Father.
Yeah.
It's not like, that we've talked about that before, but the whole.
I guarantee you, when most people read that verse, they leave out the main. They don't even hear the main part of that verse.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that the Father does the works. It was the Father that dwells in me.
Yes. Right.
That was the basis for the works being done.
Right.
But they never hear that because they don't believe that.
Right. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's just a cliche.
Right. You say it, but do you really believe that? Right.
And when we're talking dwell there, that's an intimacy of living with.
Yeah.
Totally. God has immersed himself in our soul and become one with us.
It's a great word. I love that word, immersed.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with being. It's not the outward form of being immersed into water. It's the immersed into one. It's coming together.
This is the funny thing. Sometimes we think about dropping a drop of water into the ocean.
Right.
Well, God took the ocean and mixed it into a drop of water.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's good. Good picture.
That's how powerful it is, because He can do that.
Right.
We can't mix the ocean into a drop of water. We can go drop a drop of water in the ocean,
right,
and it just disappears. But
right.
He took the ocean and mixed it into that drop of water that's our soul.
Mm.
It's crazy to think about.
It is, man.
But true.
Wow, that's good, man.
That's why we're complete in Him.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Mm.
It always fires me up to think about the thought that everything God is lives in me. Everything He is. His power, His righteousness, His holiness.
Right.
Everything He is a very part of me.
Right.
No separation.
Right.
Because it's the cross that joined us together. And it's the cross that keeps us together. It's not what I do. That's resting in the finished work of the cross. And it's a whole different thing to say it
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to living it.
Living it. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, when, everybody's got those things that just beat them over and over again. And that doesn't change in the midst of your failure.
Mm-hmm.
You're still totally immersed in God. Because it's about what He's done. It's about His love. It's not about what we do.
Right. That answers that second question up there pretty good right there.
Well, let's bring out the second verse.
Second verse is John 5:19.
Did you read that one up there?
John 5:19 is unique because this is another verse that when you read the book of John, and if you don't see these, and I just want to set this up because all through the book of John, you have to recognize the relationship between the Son and the Father to understand the book.
Yeah.
Because that's all it's about. I mean,
yeah.
Yes, it's the gospel. There is the message of the gospel, but it's the relationship uniquely between the Father and the Son.
If we just believe John 17, everything else would just fall into place.
Oh man. I mean, because anyways, it just answers really almost that whole book really so good. Anyways, that's a podcast in itself. 5:19 says, Then Jesus answered and said to them, Most assuredly I say to you, the Son can do nothing of himself. Let's hear that.
Jesus can do nothing?
Nothing of himself? What? This is the man that changed the water into wine, right?
Yep.
This is the man that walked on water, but he can't do it of himself?
Calm the storm?
Wow.
Cast out demons?
What? It's almost shocking to hear the words of his mouth say this about himself.
Faced off with the devil? Face to face?
I mean, there's so much there, man. And him to go in and to say that of himself. So the Son, speaking of himself, can do nothing of himself. But what he sees, this is the condition, but what he sees the Father, what? Do. All right? For whatever he does, the Son does in like manner. That's the interesting part is he's not doing what he wants to do on his own self.
And there's so much there in that statement. One of the things is in like manner.
Yeah.
We want to do it in our manner.
Right.
In human manner.
In human manner, yeah.
We want to say, then God does that.
This way, but I'm going to do it this way.
I'm going to do it.
Right.
You do the same thing, but you do it in human manner.
There's so much religious activity that falls underneath that category.
Yeah. I mean,
puke.
All those people said, didn't we do all these things in your name?
Right.
And what did depart from me?
I never knew you. Yeah.
Relationship?
Right. Relationship.
That's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so many things there. Whatever he does
is what he sees his Father doing.
So we threw another question on the whiteboard based on this verse.
Yes.
Is it more important to focus on what I'm doing or to focus on what I'm seeing?
That's good.
A little bit of a loaded question considering the verse.
Very loaded.
One of the statements you'll find the most often, maybe in the Old Testament too, but I know for sure in the New Testament, is, He who has ears to hear, let him hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, used quite a bit, and used of the churches in Revelation. He who has ears to ears, let him hear what what the word of the Lord says.
Yeah. I don't even know a good way to put this, but we get so caught up in seeing if we're checking off all the things on the list.
Right.
We make this list, whether it's written or not. We have a list in our mind.
Right.
Usually we always make it more than we can ever do.
Mm.
It almost always has more things on it than we can do. And if we happen to finish out the list we make, then we add some more to it.
Right.
So that we're never, ever finished.
Mm.
And we're always tired.
Right.
Oh, well, I could have been, that worked out pretty good, but I could have been better.
Right. Right.
Could have been better.
Over-evaluating the situation. And
yeah.
Absolutely.
Rather than living out of that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
God does the works. I don't think I really have the brain nor the strength to do God's work if God does the works.
Right.
There's no way I'm going to figure out how to do it in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So what should my focus be on? This guy goes back, what was Jesus' focus on? I only do that which I see the Father do.
Right.
And we didn't look it up a while ago, but I'm pretty sure that's present tense.
Oh, absolutely.
Not past tense or
right.
future, but present.
Present, yeah.
Ongoing. Continuously ongoing.
Moment by moment, second by second.
That 1 second that you have.
It's good things to think on as you process those questions. It's good for us to process that and kind of think on it and chew on that, because it makes you, it almost sets you back a little bit, and to help you realize that there is the possibility of it is there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That possibility of, no, I don't have to be concerned with it for 24/7, but the knowing that God is there, that he is with me, and that he will comfort me, that he will walk through this life with me, that I get to know him. I get to have this relationship with him, that I get to live moment by moment. That's some great stuff, man. I mean, and there's often times when, and I'm speaking from self here, understanding that there are times where I can go 2 or 3 days and not even think about things like that, and just be reminded from a little thing. It can be from my kids. It can be from opening up scripture and reading. It can be from having conversation with our friends, people we're connected with, my wife. I mean, I'm just talking about little things that remind me of the good pleasure of God, of having a relationship with him in intimacy. Is so refreshing. Tastes so good.
It's funny. It's brought to mind something that came up in my news feed and I read, because I always love when I see a tagline like this. Is by Beth Neely.
Oh yeah. It
said, "Find joy in the ordinary."
Mm-hmm.
And this made me think of that.
Okay.
Because, I'll read a little bit of it. It says, "So last night I cleaned up vomit from about 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. The girls got food poisoning. Do you guys ever have those nights that you literally pray to God, please let me go to sleep? For some reason, I had a very calm peace about this. This is not normal. I'm usually cussing like a sailor under my breath the entire time I'm having to do one of these kind motherly chores. I know that sounds awful, but it's the honest truth. So anyway, as I'm holding the bowl, I'm thinking in my head, this is just life. This isn't the first time, and it definitely won't be the last. Take it in, because it makes you a stronger person. It makes you the mom that you need to be for your kids, and it does nothing but confirm to your children that you love them. So when I look back on last night, I see that good came from it because it showed my kids the kind of care that nobody else would give them. In other words, look at the big picture in life. Find joy in the ordinary.
That's good.
Basically, that's living in the moment.
Yeah.
And letting God live in the moment.
All right.
And not concentrating on the... When we quit concentrating on our list of what God should do, God will show up in everything.
Right.
We quit missing him in the ordinary.
Right.
And all of a sudden, ministry is just life.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not about a thing we do outside of our daily existence or part of our daily existence. It is our daily existence.
Yeah, it's not something that I've learned, we're learning this, that ministry is not something that we identify ourselves in as a part of a job.
Right.
It's not a job. It's our life. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the very essence of our nature. Yeah. It's just whatever is going on.
Ministry is who he is.
That's exactly right. And that's a part of
the
out through us. Yeah.
That's what causes ministry.
Absolutely.
That's what causes peace in the middle of your children throwing up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. That's what's called ministering to your children. And that's beautiful. Yeah.
And what's really great about it is it's God ministering to your children.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you get to see God loving on your children through you.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Great pictures.
Yep. I love stories like that.
That's good, isn't it?
A change is not normal. Not normal on this earth, but normal in the spiritual realm. Normal in living in him.
It's good thoughts. Well, it's been fun. Enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week, God willing.